shall we continue? Turn my voice down, otherwise I get an echo. No, we don't need an echo. Talk on dark goddesses. Okay. So we're recording in Telegram. So we're live on Telegram. Let's just do that. Except I haven't switched the audio on. Okay, that should be working. Let me just double check that. Oh, Soundcloud, it's changed its icon. That's weird. Okay, it's there. Good. Hopefully that is coming through. Okie dokie. Yes, it is. Right. So, here we are. I don't know why the chat thing's not come up on here. Bear with me 1 second. Channel, there we go. And now my laptop's not doing it. That's great. Bear with me 1 second. Here we go. Go. What's it saying there? Unable to connect. Okay, don't know why that is. No, sending data. We are streaming. No, can't connect with my Facebook. That's weird. Okay, not to worry. It's funny that, because I was going to switch off the feed to my Facebook profile as opposed to the page, and it's decided not to do it anyway, so thank you. Hello. What are we today? Monday, isn't it? It's Monday all day today. Funny that.
20th.
Monday the 20th of May. Okay. So, just checking everything's working. It's good. I'm still unable to connect with that. But that's fine. So, a talk on the dark goddess. So, first of all, what is the dark goddess? So there are many of them. It's not just one. All from different pantheons. Essentially, the dark goddess is the crone goddess. So it's the aspect that is associated with the underworld or death, as in transformational death. She rules over things that we fear. So she's very good And she's excellent at literally consuming and transmuting our fear and pain in exchange for wisdom. So what's really interesting about that is back in 2020, when the world was realizing what we perceive as this reality isn't the true nature of reality. We set an intention that anything that comes our way we take it in and we transmute it, and any of that energy, so it gets depolarized, if you like, and then anything that we don't use of that goes back to the earth. So we are vessels for energy, essentially, and we set that intention up in 2020, and it's an ongoing thing at the moment, obviously. So essentially, with any deity, there are aspects of yourself. That's what I would say with that. So we are both, the dark and the light. So we are the dark goddesses and gods, because there are gods as well that fulfill this transmutation of energy. It's not just goddesses. So we are the dark and we are the light. Yeah, we are both. So the dark goddess may appear as terrifying or dangerous or not to be engaged with. But when you look at your perception, your perspective of the word dark, what does that mean for you? So that's the first question you have to ask yourself when it comes to if you choose to work with the dark goddess. That's the first question you want to ask yourself. What does the word dark actually mean for me? Yeah. Because it's a word with multiple thought forms and spells attached to it. There are many attachments that word has. So you'd need to do some kind of a dive and inner working, if you like, on what that word means for you. And that's the first step. Now we do have it's a very short, it's a three kind of very small lessons. It's called Embrace Your Inner Witch, but you could definitely use the same structure to go through and kind of work out what the word dark means for you. And basically what you do is you cut those attachments, you cut the cords of those attachments, so you can then move forward in this work without any preconceived ideas, without any programming and conditioning attached to that word. Yeah, because it is just a word, but like I say, it has all these tendrils attached to it that then take you along or down rabbit holes. I suppose from my own workings with, I have a few that I've worked with. I like the dark. I used to fear the dark. I used to fear lots of things that I couldn't see. Many fears. And through working with these dark goddesses and gods, I have definitely faced them, and some of them are still ongoing, don't get me wrong. But there's definitely been a shift in my perceptions, without question. So examples of the dark goddess are the washer at the ford, and there was a really good book actually that you can, they call it it's like a way to, you see that, It's a way to... It's Dark Goddess Craft by Stephanie Woodfield. A journey through the heart of transformation. I've used bits of it. I think the thing that always transpires when you're doing this work is it's got to mean something to you. So, you know, you might have a loose structure from a book or from someone else's workings, but that you then tweak that so it actually means something for you. So yeah, examples of the Dark Goddess: Washer at the Ford, Hecate, Kali, Discordia, Bloodnveds, Persephone, Sekhmet, Ishtar, you could say, because she did descend into the underworld. So she has that wisdom, yeah. And Arianrod, she is definitely, because she's a psychopomp, and she went through a lot of, in her story, she killed one of her own sons. So, you know, it's not a pretty story. So ones that I work with: Hecate, Kali, Discordia, and Sekhmet, Ishtar, Arianrod are the ones that we work with. But the dark gods that we personally work with, Odin and Arawan. Arawan is, and also Odin, are leaders of the wild hunt. And obviously Odin is the aspects of the almost trickster energy, the warrior energy, the, for want of a better word, soothsayer kind of energy. Whereas Arawan, he, as well as being leader of the wild hunt, he is the king of the Fae. He is lord of the underworld. It sounds, oh my God, you know. And when you meet him, we do actually have a meditation where you meet him. And you can either meet him and just pass by, or you can meet him and go into the giant cauldron. The giant cauldron features over many of these deities that we work with. And it is an amazing place, especially on a dark moon, to go into this giant cauldron in the great cavern and sit and just, you know, work your shit out, basically. So yeah, the Dark Goddess lessons. So what would be the point of working with a Dark Goddess, for example? So first of all, be sure that you want to do this work, because it's not for the faint of heart, I would say, because you're going to have your deepest, darkest fears put right in front of you. And if you ask for change, you'll get it. So be sure that this is the journey you want to take. Yeah. And to be honest, I would say, especially if you're working with someone like Sekhmet, she is all about this energy that we're in right now, this expansion of consciousness, this idea of Ma'at, the truth, yeah, and just the whole idea of being guardians of this earth. She's there. But it will be a challenge because of the things that you will be facing, which are of your own making. Yeah. So be sure. So yeah, they enable you, these dark goddesses and gods, enable you to face your fears. And these deities, they are the part of us which resides in the dark. So all the stuff that is coming up for everybody right now, whether they know it or not, is coming up, whether they are aware of it, whether they are self-realized, it's coming up. So you might see some very strange behavior from people around you because they do not know what is happening. They're not aware of what is happening in that process of alchemization. So all those things that you've been pushing down through, drugs, alcohol, doing all the things that distract you from actually looking at that shit. There's a reason why you want to be distracted, because you don't want to look at it. But if you want to step into something which is more than what you have known before, then there has to be some kind of a release. And in order to release it, you have to acknowledge that it has been there. Okay. So in the void space, that's where all this stuff, everything is in the void space, and then frequency, vibration determines what then comes out of the void space. That makes sense. But the dark goddess is also about the light, your light, which then shines out of the darkness. So this is the perfect time to be doing this right now, in this awakening and this activation of your light. Yeah. So these dark deities are also the alchemical process of creative disorder and order. Pardon me, which is what Discordia is all about. She is the creative force of disorder and order. Okay. So what I mean by that is that there's a connection to the expansive creativity, but in order for that creative expansion to happen, things have to fall away. So it's the same process as, facing your demons, for a better word, and releasing them. Yeah, it's the same process. So it's the alignment to our true nature, which is love consciousness for 32 hertz. And the energy of evolution, this expansion of consciousness, which is happening at the moment. And I would have to ask the question, is that why the dark goddesses are so feared? Because she challenges those preconceptions that this rigid reality that we think is our only experience, she challenges that, well, actually, that's not all there is. It's not like got a lump it. You can actually do the inner work and create change. So our own self-realization comes from that willingness to look at those things, to look at those fears, to look at the stuff under the stones, to dig up the stuff that's been buried for such a long time. And see with magical eyes. That makes sense to you? So those changes that we long for, and you might not realize that, it could be manifesting as any kind of thing that medical people put a label on, but it's something. It feels like there's something missing. Yeah. So what it really begins with is the courage to remove those layers. the overlays of rigid thinking and fixed ideas about what the world is and how it works, because they are literally just overlays or veneers on top of the truth that we are nature, and we are creative beings. You're really going to look at nature. I mean, does she stop? No. Is she awesome? Yeah. Just a bit. Yeah, we are the same. We are nature. So we have buried under all this shit, all this conditioning, all this programming, all the crappy choices that we made, yeah, that weren't aligned. So probably crappy is a bit of a crappy word. But all those unaligned choices that we made, this is what smothers or overlays our true nature. Yeah. Nature doesn't seem to have that because she just is doing her thing. So wouldn't it be awesome if we were the same? Wouldn't that be incredible? I think that would be incredible anyway. Especially when we know. So this idea of a feeling that something's missing, I can tell you why that is. So we know deep down in our being that there is another way, there is a better way, which we can bring into existence when we do that inner work, that clearing, that it's not even something that you do. Yeah, it's something that happens when you get really still and quiet and you allow the energy that is moving through all of us at the moment to just pass through, not attached to anything, not label anything, not just not give those thought forms any kind of any of your sentient energy. So what do I mean by that? So we are vessels. So I was given this, oh blimey, that was back in 2021, I think, in a dream. So there were two things. It was a two-part dream. One was this as a clear vessel, of which I only saw a part of, but essentially that represents us, yeah, the beings that we are, and energy flowing through it. It wasn't moving that fast, but it was like water moving through a pipe, if you like, but it wasn't. It was quite like that. If that makes sense. It was like that. So it wasn't moving really, really fast. I have had an experience where it's moving like a torrent, which is really interesting. So the idea is you hold the vessel open. You do not, so you're an observer of the energy that is moving through. And what that energy is doing is it's picking up all the bits of stuckness, density, however you want to describe that, and it's moving it through and it's flushing it out for you. So you don't actually have to do anything. All you have to do literally is hold that vessel open, not attached to anything. So as this energy moves through, think of it like a pinball machine. That's the best way I've found to describe it. So pockets of density in your vessel get vibrated as this energy moves through it, like a pinball machine, if you know what a pinball machine is. And that, when that happens, it's like, oh, I've got this or I've got that wrong with me, yeah. So it then starts to, especially right now, where you know the synchronicities, the miracles, the amazing happenings are ramping up. I don't know if you're noticing that. That includes when this energy is moving through and is knocking some dense energy, it's like you're holding a space for it to do that, so it can jiggle it free, and then it goes through and releases. This is energetic, but it affects the physical body. So if you are resistant, so if you're not aware of what is happening with these energies, and you're around the doctors all the time because you're going, oh, I've got this wrong and this wrong and this wrong, you're going to be stuck in a holding pattern, basically. And I know this from personal experience. Where was I? So allow it to move through you. Hold the space open, and the only way I can really explain how to do that is with breath work. 4, 4, 8. Breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 8. What that does is it enables your whole being to relax as this energy moves through. If you do no other breath work, do 4, 4, 8. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 8. And what that does is it enables you to hold that space while this energy is moving through and maybe knocking all kinds of things around in your being, in your vessel. Doing that breath work will allow that energy to move through you, and basically that energy goes back into the earth where it gets used by the earth. So it's a recycling, if you like. So we have that toroidal field. Yes, it comes in, goes out, comes around, goes in, goes out. So but we're also fed from the bottom and the top. So from Father Sky, Mother Earth. So we're fed. It's to draw that. I mean, I'm not a drawer. Not really. So I wouldn't draw it. But I see it. Yeah. So the shedding of what no longer serves us, so all that dense stuff that we don't need that stuff, because it's not who we truly are. Yeah, that's just programming and thought forms and conditioning and misaligned choices. And that's, you can't blame yourself for that either, because you can only work with what you know at the time. And personally, for myself, and I know a lot of people that are around my age, it's like we were fed some quite toxic shit, as normal, but it's not. But, now's the time to go, okay, that's not me. That's not who I am. So let's get rid of it now. So yeah, shedding this stuff that no longer needs us, and embracing the fluidic nature of reality. So I'm not talking about, Ningbo shit. I'm talking about the actual fluidic nature of reality, which is, I'm going to say neutrinos, because they are the particle of an infinitely evolving universe, reality. Neutrinos. Go and look up neutrinos. They're very interesting. Because this reality is always changing and evolving. Nature, again, is our greatest teacher. And what does she do? She's always changing. She's always evolving. So let her be your teacher. If you don't want us to help you, go and be with nature. So working with the dark goddess or god energy, it's not scary. It's challenging, and I'm not going to say you need to take it seriously, because they're aspects of ourselves. So because we are the creator, we created them. So they're aspects of, you, they're aspects of me. They're aspects of everybody on this earth. Yeah, everyone in this universe. But what I would say is treat them like you would a valued friend. So you don't shit on them. Yeah. Well, most people don't. And it's not going to make you a psychopath. You're not going to be like Carly, going around killing everybody and stomping on the heads, That's a metaphorical representation of the creative disorder and order energy. Yeah, because out of chaos, out of that disorder, out of that banish comes in the thing that you are. Yeah, that's what self-realization is, if that makes sense. Makes sense to me. But what it will do is it will aid you to release that density that's being knocked about by these energies, by this solar energy, by the energy of everything that's moving through the universe right now. Yeah, in this expansion of consciousness. So, facing those aspects of ourselves that you'd rather not look at. We've been distracted by all these lovely things out here, all these rides. Yeah. As Bill Hicks said, it's a ride. You're on a ride. At any point, you can go, I'm done with this ride. I'm getting off. Thank you very much. Yeah. And I'm not saying it's not, scary, especially if it's a ride that you've been on for a very long time. But if it's not serving you, and if it's not aligned to who you truly are, you get off the ride. Otherwise, you're just going to keep going in that holding pattern. And you could argue that that's what karma is, when you keep looping in a holding pattern. That's what the reincarnation and the karma is all about. Just an idea. Where was I? So yeah, when we banish the baggage, we actually have it's a essential oil blend that's called Banish the Baggage, and it's very cool. So when we banish the baggage, we become renewed. I don't know if reborn is the right word, but we certainly become a restored version of ourselves, because that's what this is. This is a restoration of your whole being. That's why one of our websites is called Restore Your Being with Sound, because as sound healers, that's what we do. That's our intention. So when you have a sound healing with us, the intention is to bring back all those bits of energy that you've left wherever. But when they're brought back, they are retuned to 432 hertz, which is the closest. I think they say it's the closest frequency to nature. So that's what we want, isn't it? That's what we want, damn it. So walking the liminal space, which is where the dark goddesses and gods hang out, if you like. So that liminal space is the place of transformation, because it's not one thing or anything else. You could say it's the void space as well. It's where the infinite potential resides, and it's where all possibilities can be birthed from. So that's the liminal space, yeah, place of transformation. And like I say, it's not for the faint of heart. So if you don't want to go through a transformational experience, don't work with dark goddesses and gods. It's that simple. Although I would also add that all deity will have an aspect of the dark about them. Even Lou, who is all about, he's called the Shining One. Bridget, you know, she will kick your ass, and she will protect children, and she will protect women, especially women with children. And she does that with, what does she do that with? Sword. Bridget is a warrior. She's a warrior of light. But most people don't necessarily associate her with that, but she is. So, personal responsibility and self-discipline. If you are wanting to do this work, then you have to, you know, in everything we do, we always say there are no rules. Except there are a few things. If you cast your clothes, personal responsibility, self-discipline. There are a couple of others that I can't remember right now. But it's, you know, without that, you're not going to keep going on the path. You know, when it becomes, you know, really challenging, you're not going to keep going. You're going to go, oh, do you know what? I'm not doing this. And you're either going to sit down and just stay there, or you're going to turn and go back and get on the familiar path, which wasn't getting you where you wanted to go anyway. I know that from personal experience. Okay. So if you want to do this work, it has to be personal to you. Yeah. So, I mean, there are ways that you can connect with deity. There are, I've done different ways. But you got to go with what you feel guided. And when I say guidance, I don't mean the squeaky, that programmed squeaky voice. Yeah. I'm talking about guidance from here, from your heart center. Yeah. You could call it the soul, your higher self, your higher consciousness, however you want to describe that. That is the guidance you're looking for, not that, not that one. Okay. I call it the squeaky because it's tiny. It's a tiny little thing which uses mirrors and things to amplify itself to make it sound very important, and it's not. Sorry, got on one there. So yeah, things you can do to honor, pay reverence to these deities. The first thing you do is you build a relationship with them. Same as if you found a new friend, you know, you don't just go, you know, plow straight in, you know, you build a relationship with that person. So in the same way, you build a relationship with deity. So there are different ways to do this. I've done it different ways. The 21-day experience is a good one, where you make sure you've got 21 days where you can at least do 10 minutes a day. I would suggest longer than that, but it depends on what kind of time you have. Even if it means getting up a bit earlier in the morning or going to bed a bit later at night, you know, make that time is your time to make those connections. Yeah. And you do it 21 days straight. I would encourage a little bit of research around, that's one of my favorite things to do anyway, research, whether that's books. There are some places online where you can get some nice articles about deity that aren't, you know, too polarized. And in that 21 days, you know, you might build an altar, you might put correspondences on that altar, you might do meditation, you might use a drum. You know, it depends. What's your, as Ian was saying, he's not here, he's taking a phone call. What's your unique thumbprint? So I don't know, if you're a musician, you might use music to connect. If you make your own incense, you might use incense to connect. If you love using candles, you might use candles. You might use frequency. You might go out into nature and find a tree that corresponds to that deity and do it that way. There are an infinite number of ways to do that in that 21-day bracket. Yeah. But I found that really, really useful when I did it that way, because it gave me a focus. So if you're someone that needs that focus, that very focused attention, I would do the 21-day. I've also, when I connected with Sekhmet, so that happened over a few years, where I'd hear her name randomly on things, in things, and I'd be like, what's that name? And then in 2019, we were at the British Museum in the bit where, what's his name? Queen Elizabeth I's magician was called John Thingy-Majig. You know who I mean. In there, where all his rigmarole is, there was a statue of Sekhmet, and I just went up and I put my hand on her, and this energy just went. It went, and I was like, Ian, you need to come and experience this. And so that's where it really started. You know, I'd heard her name in the ether, and then there was a physical manifestation of energy with her statue. John D, that was it. So if you're ever at the British Museum, go up to where John D stuff is and go and connect with Sekhmet. And then what's interesting is there were a whole series of events that happened. And in 2020, we started the alchemization process with Sekhmet, which is part of the Nikki Scully book about connecting with Sekhmet. So what I was doing between that connection with Sekhmet at the British Museum and starting the actual work, I bought a statue because I love statuary. I might even start making some myself. That keeps coming up and I keep pushing it away, but I need to listen to it more. So I bought it. It's only a little, it's about that big. Statue of Sekhmet. She's seated. She's over there on the altar. And I sat it next to where I spent a lot of my time at the time, which was on the laptop, doing stuff for the business. And I would just feel her presence. And now and again, I'd have a little word with her and we'd have a chat. And I built a relationship that way. And then just one day, it was like, okay, so I'm going to start building an altar. And what's really interesting is I would create a new incense blend or a new oil blend or get a new crystal, and I'd hear very clearly in my ear, that's mine. And I'd be like, oh, okay. Have it then. And then I was directed by her to make this amazing, it's very expensive to make because it has lots of ingredients that are very expensive. So I don't make it that often. But it's a solid resin that I have to literally knead with all these other ingredients. And it's really hard to do because it's hard to actually make this because I have to knead this resin. And yeah, that's we use that all the way through this alchemization process that we both went through. And that was a baptism of fire. Oh my goodness. Getting that ready because we were creating these immersive meditations, one a day for 21 days. It was extremely intense. So not just the meditations themselves, but the whole process of making them, because we love like to listen to immersive meditations. You know, For me, it wasn't much cop reading it from a book, because then you're not in it, you're reading it, and it doesn't work for me. So every day we were creating, and I was spending like half the day creating these meditations, and then we would do the meditations. No, what we would do, I would create the meditation, we'd go for a walk, and then we'd come back and do the meditation. And that was basically the whole day gone. So it was very, very intense. It was like a 21-day retreat, very intense. And then we had, in the August of 2020, I'm only sharing this because my experience with connecting with Deity, because I've done it different ways, this was very intense. The experience I had with Sekhmet. So when we went camping in August 2020, there was the temperatures, bearing in mind we're in a tent in the middle of the field with not a lot of shade, yeah, and it was getting up to 40 degrees. We couldn't even walking like 10 minutes up the road to the shop it took ages, because it was just intense. And what we realized was we were having our alchemization process had started at that point. And that's when, I think, when we got back from that camping holiday, we bought the book, and then we started doing the meditations for the full alchemization process. But what we realized is that was our baptism of fire. And it was. And yeah, and it's gone from there, really. So that was a very different experience to the one I had with the 21-day bracket. But other ways you can connect is to set an intention. So you might get a call from a deity, you might be called, or you might choose to connect with a deity. I suppose most of them I've been called through different ways and means. Others I've gone, usually there's a lineage, there's connections from one deity to others, like the Tuatha De Danann, for example. And it's like, so when we're walking on the marshes, we see, sometimes, not always, we see herons, big prehistoric looking birds, and they are phenomenal. And we've seen two of them at the same time, so we know there's more than one. And what I realized through a meditation which connected to my soul star chakra is that was Manannan. So whenever we see the heron on the marshes, that's the connection to Manannan. And he's actually sung to me across in this meditation across the water, and I sang back. Oh, it was amazing. And that was before I'd even really connected. So if you intend to connect with a deity, then intention is 99% of universal law. So if you intend that, then things will start happening that will increase that connection. So that's more of an unfolding process, I would say. So, when you're doing that unfolding process, you can ask for guidance about, what it is that they want from you. Yeah. So a bit like a friendship. So you don't go straight into a friendship when you've known them for 5 minutes and go, right, I want to borrow your car. Because they'll go, I don't even know you. I'm going to let you take my car. I'm not going to lend you my car. I've known you for 5 minutes. You see what I mean? So build that relationship first. 100%. Ritual is also an amazing way to connect with deity. And what I would say as well, because we work with, so we've got Greek over there, we've got Egyptian, and we've got more kind of Celtic, Irish and Welsh than any others, but yeah, we do work with Irish and Welsh. Bear with me. Don't know what others, but yeah, we do work with Irish. I've done that for. Oh my god, that was weird. Bear with me. That was weird. I don't know why that suddenly clicked on. Everything is magic. All of a sudden, my volume went up on my phone, and it shouldn't have done. What was I saying? I can't remember what I was saying now. Got really interrupted by my phone. Right, so I think if you have any questions on working with these deities, you can certainly, you can email us or do a comment or whatever. Let me just make sure there's no one in the chat. That might have been why. No, okay. I just thought it might have been someone in the chat. So we're coming up on 50 minutes. So I would definitely invite you to either go and get that book. You can see that. Let me just check. Make sure it's come up on the screen. Here we go. It's about to come up on the screen. And of course, it's round the wrong way. Dark Goddess Craft. It's a really good book. I've used some bits out of it, so I haven't gone through the whole thing and done it like an exercise. I don't work like that. Even when we did the Nikki Scully Sekhmet work, because we created our own meditations, we didn't do it strictly from the book. But what it gave us is it gave us a loose framework. So yeah, if you want any advice on connecting with the dark goddesses for this particular work, for this, this transformational work, you can email us or make a comment wherever this is landing. You can comment. But I think it's perfect for this time now. It's valuable work, and I mean, personally, I'd say do it. Without question, I'd say do it. So I hope this has been an interesting discussion, or me chatting, talking, rambling. Ramble on. So if you want to know more, if you want some guidance, then just give us a shout, email, or go to our websites. If this is on YouTube, it should all be below in the comments, hopefully. Not in the comments, in the description. If not, I'll go and put it in. Yeah. So thank you for watching. You know what to do if you liked it. If you didn't, then bye. Although you wouldn't have stayed till the end. So yeah, I'm going to sign off and probably going to have some lunch. Until the next one, stay fearless and blessings.